I can barely act this scene, first of all, you know what I mean? Now you want me to like try to, you know. Yeah, so I go to meet Paul and Fred, and the first thing I do when I walk in the room is I take off my shoes. That's going to keep me, you know, shorter. And I'm a sloucher, you know. Not a slacker, but a sloucher. And I slunched over a little bit, and I met them. They were very nice, and it went very well. And they were like, thank you, great, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we had to go to network. See, once the director and the producer, executive producer, television is a writer-producer medium. They have all the power. So once the creator of the show likes you, he has to get the approval of the network, because the network is the people who are putting up the production money. The production company puts up the lion's share of the money, and then the network puts up a portion of the money. And so we had to go to network. And before you go to network, you got to make your deal, and the deal is a 5 to 7 year deal. But because it was going to be up here in Canada under ACTRA, we only had to make a 3-year deal. And therefore, you're making a deal for 3 years, just in case. And they have the option of saying goodbye to you, but you're locked in for 3 years. You don't have the option of saying goodbye to them. And now they're actually 5 to 7 year deals, a lot of the network shows. And you don't even know if the show's going to go to series, but you're making a deal for the next 7 years of your life, financially, physically, where you're going to work and all that. So we make the deal, we go to network, and I think this was now my 4th audition, and it was the worst of them all. And I was so upset, because at this point now I'm invested. Do you know what I mean? Now at this point I want the show, you know, because I've just put in all this time and energy, and I know how much money I'm going to make, and I'm interested. And it's the worst one of the 4, and I'm like, oh well, you know, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And I left, and the next day I got a call from my agent, and they said, they loved you, you were great, but there's no snow. So they're putting it on, I guess, we don't know what's going to happen. There's no snow, and because we had to shoot all of the snow sequences in the pilot, the location that they had originally picked, it was now May. And, you know, I mean, snow's melting fairly fast in May in the Yukon. Not that fast. Now, literally, they said there was no snow. 2 weeks later, I get a call. You got to go back to network. They found some snow. Okay. So I go back to network, and this is my 2nd network audition. Now, network contracts are only good for 5 days. After 5 days, you can legally renegotiate. Now, I had made my deal, but now I said to my agent, well, on the way home from the audition, another gentleman who was auditioning for my role was a guy by the name of Nestor Serrano. Nestor needed a ride, after the audition, the first network audition, Nestor needed a ride back to his hotel, because he lives in New York. And I knew Nestor. We did Lethal Weapon 2. I had a tiny part in Lethal Weapon 2, and Nestor was in Lethal Weapon 2, and we got along. I said, yeah, I'll give you a ride back to your hotel. So I started, you know, just inquiring with Nestor how much money he was making. So now, you know, since we're not going, you know, we both auditioned, you know, so what are you getting for the pilot? And he told me, and I said, really? I said, how much are you getting per episode? He told me, I said, really? Well, Nestor was making more money than me, you know, on the pilot and the episode. So when it came back after 2 weeks, I said to my agent, we're renegotiating because they have more, because they always say they don't have any more money. I said, they obviously have more money because they're paying Nestor this, this, and this. Let's renegotiate. My agent said, no, you can't do that. I said, yeah, we can do it because network, you know, contract's only good for 5 days after the date. And he says, no, you know, you really got to honor it. It's in good faith. And I was like, I grumbled. I said, yeah, okay. So I didn't get to renegotiate my deal, which I would have liked to have. And my agent also neglected to negotiate pension and health in season 1.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was a little, and I didn't realize that my agent didn't negotiate pension and health for me. See, because in a SAG contract, it's automatic. But this was an ACTRA contract. We were working under the Canadian union, and it wasn't automatic. It had to be negotiated, and it just fell between the cracks. So when I found this out after the end of season 1, I went back to the States and I tried to file for unemployment. But there was no reference of me making any money. So I said, you know what, that's funny. Can we check and see, because now I had a child and I want, for the health care, and I said, let's just check P&H, let's call SAG and find out, oh no, you don't have any health insurance. I said, how can I not have any health insurance? Because you have to make a certain amount of money each year to qualify for your health insurance. So we had to, in the second season, we renegotiated, and I got my pension and health, and everything was fine. But between not renegotiating my test deal and not P&H, I was really upset with my agents, and I stayed with them for another couple of years, but they cost me a lot of money. But anyway, so we go back to network answer. That's a long answer. But it's informative, right? It's good. It's good. If you're losing interest, just start yawning. Just start walking out. I went back to network the second time, and it went well. And I remember that was on Tuesday. And that night, they always got to check in, and that night I was at a spiritual meeting, and I was dying to find out what was going on. So halfway through, I took a break from our spiritual meeting, and halfway through I went out and I made a phone call. It was before cell phones. They had those really big ones. And I called my agent, he said I got the job, and I couldn't believe it, and we were off to Canada. And so it was, the show I didn't want, and it was one of the best shows I ever did, It's one of those funny things, Most memorable, there was a lot of great memories, shooting this show. I don't know, I think it's hard to say, I really can't say. I mean, working with my wife when she played Angie, that was very, interesting, it was memorable, it was kind of, exciting. Working with so many people who went on, I mean, if you think about the people who guest starred in Due South, Ryan Felipe was a guest star. Carrie Ann Moss, guest star. Jane Krakowski, guest star. Who?
Oh, don't even mention his name.
No, it's okay. And then there was Mark Ruffalo.
Yes. Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo. Okay, now Mark. What'd you say? Sexy? What'd you say? Yes, yeah. So Mark Ruffalo, and I remember Mark came up with his girlfriend. And it was like he'd just been doing theater in LA, and he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna. I said, Mark, look at you. You look like a young Burt Reynolds or a young Marlon Brando. You're gonna be fine, man. But Haggis had a great eye. Haggis. Look at old Marie Bello. Haggis had a great eye for talent. I didn't discover those people, but he hired those people who went on to have really, really big, successful careers. And that was very, Due South is an amazing show. It's historic. It was the first Canadian show ever to make it to American television. First Canadian produced television show ever to make it to American prime time. It garnered more Geminis than any show in the history of Canadian television. And it was a great honor and privilege to be a part of it. All right, I'm done.